All right, tell the YouTube people where we are and go from there.
We're at the Mount Union Borough Park, and it's really nice. They've kept it mowed up real well, and they have a playground over here and a little picnic area here. And I can remember when Nathan was a little boy, we brought sandwiches over here and had our own little picnic. So Nathan suggested I talk about some of the places I've been in my lifetime on trips and that. And I think, well, I've been to Disneyland 6 times, and on bus 5 times, and the one time we drove down.
I think you mean Disney World.
Disney World.
Disneyland's in California. Disney
Right,
World's
Disney
Florida.
World in Florida. And if you've never seen Disney World, it's worth seeing. And one of the nicest places I've been on is up in Canada. It's the only time it's ever out of the country, if you call going to Canada out of the country.
Well, yeah, it's a different country.
So it's one of the most beautiful places you ever want to go. And it's the Canadian Rockies is where we went. And part of our trip consisted of a train ride across Canada. And we went into Vancouver, flew in a small plane to Vancouver Island, and we saw elk, saw bear, we saw so many beautiful places, lakes and mountains. And like I said, it was one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. It's unpopulated up in that area. And I think we were gone for about a week or more. First time I ever rode an airplane. We took an airplane up there, and then we had a ride in a small airplane while we were up there. And coming back, we were in an airplane. And that was the first time, I think it was in my 70s, the first time I ever rode an airplane. And then one of the other things places we traveled was cross country, driving across country in a car. My husband had a brother that lived in California, so we traveled with my husband and I and 2 of my sisters-in-law. And we stopped at Las Vegas on the way out. We liked it so well, we stopped there on the way back. My one sister-in-law and I stayed up all night and dropped nickels into the machine. Never won a darn thing. I never won anything at Atlantic City either. You win a little, you lose a little, and you come back, you're about even. You have the same amount of money as you left with. But I never lost a lot of money, but I never won any either. And well, we were out in California where my husband's brother lived. The second time we were out, they lived up at Lake Isabella, and this was a beautiful lake. Took us out on it. He had a boat. It was called the Wendy, after his granddaughter, and took us out on this. I mean, he took that boat pretty fast. I think he was trying to show off for us. But the next time we went out, there was no lake there. They had a drought, and there was absolutely no lake there anymore. And one of the things that we noticed as we were crossing a bridge, it said, "Please do not dive off of the bridge." Well, if you were diving off the bridge, you'd be dead because it was down on rocks. There was no water anymore. That was a big disappointment. So I never found out if they ever had water in it since that or not. I know they've still had some drought out in that area. And the last time we went to California, it was myself, my sister, Oni, and 2 of my sisters-in-law, Alice May and Gladys. And we took turns driving. It was my car, but I had just bought a new car, and it was my car. And we went. Of course, we stopped at Las Vegas again. A lot of places that we stopped at, and we went to AAA and got a trip ticket. Showed us a lot of interesting places to stop. And we went to I'm trying to think of someplace. The mountain where all the presidents are on.
Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore. I remember that. When you get old, you remember some things, but you forget names. And saw a lot of interesting places going out and coming back. I'm trying to think of where the last place one time when we were down at Disney World, we drove down to Corey and Ian, my two grandsons and their mother and dad, my daughter and her husband. And Ian wanted to ride the horses. We were staying on this island, and Ian wanted to ride the horses. Well, I said, his mother said, well, somebody will have to go with you. And I said, I'll go. Never been on a horse before either. So I got on the horse. You don't have to do a thing, just sit there because the horse follows the guide around. And Ian wanted to keep pulling on the reins and doing things like that. And the next day I was so sore. My butt was so sore from riding that darn horse. But anyhow, I think they have that on a movie someplace, tape. And there's someplace else we traveled that was interesting. Oh, I've been to Niagara Falls a couple times. It's so populated up in there. It's not as... It must have been a beautiful place when the Indians still had it, but it's so populated now that it's not as nice. It's worth seeing. Niagara Falls. When I was a kid, the thing that we liked to do the most was to go camping. We were outdoors people. My dad, my mother, my dad built camp. My mother, she taught us to appreciate nature, I think. Anything that had to do with nature was what we liked. And we still like to go camping. Now, when we go camping, we call it camping when we're out in the woods someplace, not down along the river, between the highway and the river. It's our idea of camping is to be way out in the woods, and we loved it. We usually stayed awake at night and told stories, or we sat around the campfire and cooked hot dogs and s'mores and told ghost stories. And one time my sisters, there was 5 of us, maybe 6. I used to have 5 brothers and 5 sisters, and now I only have 1 sister, and she's in a nursing home. But anyhow, we were sitting at the table having our lunch, looked out the window, and there was this big black snake going up the post. There was a bird's nest out there on the porch. And I, oh my God, what's that? So we all got up from the table and I killed the black snake. I know you shouldn't kill black snakes, but I hate snakes. I'm paranoid when it comes to snakes. But we had fun out in the camp. And we would play Rummikub, Scrabble, and what was the one we played with cards? Well, we played cards anyhow. And a lot of the people that we used to go camping with are gone now. We're a lot of the people I used to travel with. My sisters and all are gone now too. And what are some of the other places we went to?
I know somewhere I have a picture of you standing next to the General Lee. Where was that at? Like in Nashville or something?
Oh, yes. Yes. You mean that car?
Yeah, Dukes of Hazzard.
The Dukes of Hazzard car. Yeah, I had my picture taken with that. I had my picture taken with some... Oh, that's where a friend of mine and I went down to Nashville to... I forget what they called it now, but a lot of the stars had their own booth where you could talk to them. And I talked to Loretta Lynn and Boxcar Willie and Well, anyhow, a lot of Nashville stars we got to see. Because, like I said, when you get old, you forget names. Oh, I remember Connie saying to me, "There's Lee Greenwood." And I said, "Okay, I'll get his picture." Well, I didn't know really who Lee Greenwood was. I wasn't much of a country music fan, really, but we had fun. And I took a picture of his bodyguard, I thought was Lee Greenwood.
That's the one I was hoping you would tell.
Well, she got a big kick out of that, too. But Lee Greenwood, I like his singing. What's that song that he sang?
God Bless the USA.
Yes, he had his own place down there. And one of my favorites was God Bless the USA, Lee Greenwood. Yeah, we've been to Nashville a couple times. And went to the World's Fair once. That was down, I forget where it was now. But if I were to say what my favorite place of all it would be up in the Canadian Rockies. The beautiful scenery, the animals and things that you don't see around here. And I've had a lot of bus trips to different places with the senior citizens, but I think my favorite is Disney World. So right now the sun's beginning to go down, and
Well, before we go, I mentioned on the way here talking about the places here in town, like the Brickyard and the Sewing Factory.
Oh,
Talk a little
yes.
bit about those.
Mount Union is almost a dead town anymore because all the places where people that moved here to work in the brickyards, the coat factory, and there was a shoe factory for a while, and they're all gone now. There's no more brickyards. The coat factory shut down, and all our jobs went overseas. To me, that's a stupid thing when they left all our jobs go overseas, and then they wonder why our people can't get work. And a lot of the things that they make overseas, like clothing and that, Scotty's in Lewistown used to make really nice clothes, but when they make them overseas, they're cheap looking compared to what we make over here. And that I never could understand, why we left all our jobs go overseas. Even the Standard Steel Works in Burnham are owned by Japanese, but it's at least it's still in this country where people can get work. I used to work at the coat factory and sit at a sewing machine all day, and that is very boring. If you get sleepy, can't keep your eyes open, you gotta keep on going. And
Keep going until you sew your hand into somebody's
Well,
jacket.
some of the ladies actually did sew their fingers.
I can well imagine.
In the summertime, it was so hot in there. There wasn't even air conditioning.
I've been in that building, the one downtown here, and yeah, it got pretty nuts in there in the summertime because there's no AC built into that place.
That for a good many years, they called it the gallery, and people would take.
I talked about this in one of our road trip videos, but yeah, we used to have a flea market in there, and I would set up in there with Kyle. That was long after the sewing factory shut down.
And Eddie, he always had a lot of stuff set up in there, and it was fun to go there because you could walk around and see a lot of different things that people had for sale, mostly secondhand things or things they bought at auctions and brought there to sell it. Nathan really liked doing that. I gave him anything that I could to sell, and some things they bought at auctions and that. And sometimes he helped Eddie too. If Eddie was going away, he'd say, would you watch my tables for me while I get...
And we had a lot of fun doing that.
Yes. I can remember how upset you were when you had to quit.
Well, it wasn't exactly my choice.
No. So I guess you're a born salesman, because now he works... No. And, yes, Mount Union used to be a booming town. This is Mount Union over here that we're looking at now. And this is this park that where we are right now is, you would say it's part of Mount Union.
They call this little area where we're at Liverpool.
Liverpool.
Not to be confused with the Liverpool where the Beatles are from.
England. But it's part of Mount Union.
Right.
So, and it's a nice park here.
It's not much to it. But, you know, there's a half pipe over there, a couple slides, a swing set, and the baseball fields are across the creek there.
Mm.
There's a little bridge there.
Can you think of anything else?
No, I think we're good for this episode. So I guess that's it for this one. This is actually your 12th video now, which means you've been doing this for a whole year.
Really?
Yes.
I need to think of some things different to say.
In due time, in due time.
What we're looking at over there is Jack's Mountain. Jack's Mountain is one of the longest continuous mountains. I don't know if you'd say in the world, but in Pennsylvania. I wonder where that road goes to.
That's a dead-end road. It just heads up there about half a mile and then stops.
Mm.
That's where a friend of mine used to live years ago. He lived at the very last house down there. Him and his brother and their grandparents.
Well, I'm so glad that they're keeping it up. It's mowed and then it's
Yeah.
looks nicer than it did the last time I was here. I think. They had trouble with kids coming in here at night and vandalism and things like that.
Yeah, I'm not going to show some of the stuff that's carved into this table, but, you know, it's not as bad as it used to be. I wouldn't even repeat some of this stuff, but, anyway, I think we're losing some daylight here, so any last words for this one?
Well, I would say it's a nice place to be, and central Pennsylvania is one of the most beautiful places in the world. When we traveled cross country, we thought Colorado was a beautiful place because of the mountains, and of course I'm a country person anyhow, love the mountains, love to go camping in the mountains. But we thought Colorado was one of the most beautiful places. Then when we got back to Pennsylvania, we said, you know, Pennsylvania is one of the most beautiful states there is too. And it really is. So this is part of Pennsylvania. And I guess I wouldn't want to live anyplace else. That's all I can think of to talk about today. We'll have to think of some more things.
All right.
Things that I can remember from my childhood. When you get to be 89, which I am, then your childhood was a long time ago. And things were absolutely different from what they are now. We didn't even have electricity in our house. We didn't have an inside bathroom. And that's a subject for another time. My grandparents lived on a farm, and some of the things that I remember about living on the farm, because I stayed with them a lot, and over the weekends or in the summer for weeks maybe, went up to my grandparents and stayed with them. They didn't have any electricity. Now when I was a child, we did get electricity in our house. But You know what? You don't miss what you don't have. I didn't miss having a bath, not having a bathroom because when you get up at night to go to the bathroom, there was a chamber pot by your bed, or you ran out when you got older. You just ran outside to the bathroom in the middle of the winter when it was very cold. You ran out and you ran back. So I guess we can go on down the road, Nate.
All right.
Get something to eat.
All right, that is it for this one.